Hmm. Oh, I love money. Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Now you're probably thinking, why am I in a bathrobe? Because I talked to Greg Mitchell. Are you kidding me? Look at all the dollary dues I'm getting at my door now. Sacks of money at my door. Look, I'm drinking out of a Queen Mum mug. Because I am a Queen Mum, because I talked to Greg Mitchell from Jazwares. Now, this is a really awesome chat. I'm so happy Greg was super on board to do this with me. We go super into depth about AEW, Jazwares, the Unrivaled line, the Unmatched line, and the future of those lines and the partnership between AEW and Jazwares, and a little bit back into the business side of things as well with those lines. And it's actually a really interesting, really thought out interview, and I think you guys will enjoy it. So without further ado, here's a talk with Greg Mitchell. Me. G'day, ladies and gents. It is I, Nick Storm, the Leon Icon, and I have a very special guest with me today, Mr. Gregory Mitchell from Jazwares. How you doing, Gregory?
Hey, thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm good. Do you prefer Greg or Gregory? I just see Gregory like all over Instagram, so I feel like my
That's
brain
perfectly
just
fine.
Gregory, cool.
I was averse to it. I was averse to it as a youngster because my mother only called me Gregory, so I assumed everyone else should call me Greg. And then the older I got, the more I settled into it. And I don't know, there's a lot of Gregs. Plus, if you go into Starbucks in the morning and it's all loud and the machines are, you
Yeah.
say, for Greg, name Greg. Okay. 20 minutes later, it's Ted, Fred, Ed, Jeb.
Oh,
And
that reminds me of one time I went to Starbucks and I said my name's Nick, right? Because it's a four-letter name, and they mess it up that bad. I think they like put like a silent K at the front or something like that.
yeah,
I don't really know what was going on that day, but yeah.
once I got Gregory, and then once I
Gregory.
got Gregory, once I got Gregory with three G's in the middle. So like, and I don't know what the intent was there, but so yeah, Gregory is the most successful way to drink at Starbucks when it's loud and busy in the morning. That's so call me Gregory.
Cool. Okay, Gregory. Awesome. Now I know you as like Greg. I know what you do, but there might be some people out there that doesn't understand like the whole extent that your job actually does. So I want to know, how would you explain yourself to someone like myself?
Sure. Well, for my job that I dedicate my whole life to, 60 plus hours a week on a good week, I'm the vice president of brand for action, boys action, and collectibles. What that means is it's kind of like a brand is typically in toys and collectibles. It's like the department that is generally, I would say, like responsible like for strategy, right? Hey, here's a brand we either want to create in house or a license we want to go and work together to get the rights to create product for. Um, and brand, I think, is probably the common denominator across the entire life cycle of, hey, what if we made this toy or got this license all the way to actually getting it on the shelf. And then in parallel to that, you're planning the next year's stuff at that same time while you're then actively marketing and speaking to the consumers and the fans with the stuff that you just got on shelf. So we work very, very closely with product development. Most toy companies have a licensing division whose job is to go out there and solicit licenses, do pitches, talk to the Disneys and the Marvels and the Warner Brothers of the world, the Epics, the Microsofts and 343 studios, and actively pursue partnership deals to make the toys. That's licensing. Sales is the sales team, of course, that works with us to get the stuff in front of the buyer at Walmart or Target or Tesco or Amazon to say, hey, this is the range. You should definitely buy this, buy it all, buy lots of it, and we'll sell the heck out of it together. Marketing helps us create the kind of assets that you guys enjoy, like commercials, press releases, PR events, marketing activations, like the one we just did over at AEW for Double or Nothing Fan Fest this past weekend, which was a total hoot, and helps talk to the consumer in a very direct way now that you've got the product on a shelf or soon to come and on the way to create anticipation and excitement. And then because toys is such a crazy cyclical business, there are these convergences where we're working on this year's stuff. We're knee deep in next year's stuff, and then we just start the preliminary talks to the following year's stuff. So there's a couple months of the year where brand and product
Yeah.
development are essentially living in 3 seasons all at once. And when I used to write checks to pay the rent and to pay bills, I would often put the wrong date on the check, and my landlord thought I would be cheeky and trying to not have him, cash the check on time. And I was like, fun idea. Should try that next time. But no, in this case, go ahead and cash it. It's not meant to be, it's not meant to be cashed in 2017, sir. Please proceed.
Wow.
But that's a
okay.
fun part of like the brand equation of that whole soup to nuts life cycle of an idea for a toy, and then a range reaching shelves and people being excited and buying it and engaging in it and talking on Instagram and all that good fun stuff.
Yeah, I always love the kind of process in between. I don't know, it's really interesting to hear people just go about that. Like you said, it's like a lot of work, and I don't think many people realize that. I didn't really realize that to the full extent. But yeah, that's a lot of work, and I appreciate you so much. Oh my God. Oh my God. I have an angel in my
You're right there.
presence.
You all
No,
right there? You sound
no.
like you something in the sternum. What was wrong
Um,
there?
I think I just have too much swagger, you know?
That
Um,
happens sometimes. I've seen
yeah,
it happen. It's never happened to me yet, but
yeah.
I can always hope. But I've definitely observed it, like right now, for instance.
Yeah, it happened to my one of my buddies actually, and he's actually so this past week, we had Double or Nothing, we had a lot of Dynamite, we had Double or Nothing, and we had AEW Jazwares presents Fan Fest.
Yeah,
What a hoot! You guys took the internet by storm. I was refreshing every page on Instagram to see the reveals, or when they came out and everything like that. And I'd love to talk to you about all of that. But what was the motives to making a fan fest, having a thing for the fans to interact with each other and just talk about all these topics, all these cool figure lines, and everything like that, wrestling in general.
sure. I have a wonderful partner over at AEW. Her name is Dana Massey. She's essentially like the chief merchandising officer for AEW. She runs everything from the merch to the licensing deals to bring on partners like us to make the toys for AEW and the collectibles for AEW. And I think she nailed it. She sees the fans in person. She interacts with the fans, virtually on social media, and she knows that AEW fans have been hungry to be involved with AEW in this past year. It's been tough. Everyone can watch TV. We can all interact with each other through our social media, and we've done that. And AEW fans have stuck through and have even grown in the pandemic year. And the first sign where it was safe, where it was conducive to people getting together, having a good time, doing it safely, and celebrating, getting back together at a live event, which Double or Nothing really did a wonderful job of representing for AEW. Packed house, sold out, great card, great lineup. It was a great way to kind of welcome in the rest of the year where, hey, chances are good that life can get back to normal if we all take care of each other, take care of ourselves, and have fun. And FanFest was a nice, almost like pilot program to embrace that, try to make good for all the fun stuff we probably missed since we were all together last at C2E2 in Chicago, and just kick off hopefully a nice long stretch of getting back together with fans on a regular basis. So she came to us probably about 3 weeks ago. If anyone's ever put together a trade show, large or small, you need more time to do those, not less.
That sounds
And
like it sounds like not enough time just from you saying it.
yeah, but again, that's where Jazwares really shines. That's where AEW really shines. We have passion, we have resources, we have each other. So to have an idea come together so quickly and come to fruition through a lot of hard work and patience and quick thinking, we got that together in just very short order. And it was excellent. It was great. So hats off to Dana, as always, one of the best partners you could have at a job. Someone who really truly lives AEW. And she and her team put that together. Our part was a humble little, hey, since you've last seen us, which again was right after New York Toy Fair last February, we literally packed up our bags, put our samples in a suitcase, and flew right to Chicago for C2E2, their big Midwest version of like a big, huge show like you would expect at San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con or London Toy Show. And we haven't been in front of the public since then. We've been doing the reveals on Instagram every time we try to get a little bit ahead of like the leakers and folks out there who maybe try to like poach some new info and try to get ahead of that. And that's been fun. We've gotten a lot of engagement and a lot of good feedback there. But it was so exciting to get back in front of human beings again, people that look you in the eyes and go, hey, how come you didn't have that one thing on that one figure? Or thank you for making my favorite figure. Or holy crap, I grew up with wrestling buddies. Now you're going to make them for AEW, and they're actually called wrestling buddies, not some sort of goofy marketing name because the trademark
Yeah,
was locked up with
I
somebody
popped
else for
hard
all
for
those
that.
years.
I popped hard for that when I saw that.
Yeah. So that was really it. And so we did was we kind of put together like a little product gallery. As anyone who tries to buy AEW figures will attest. And I'm not here to snow anybody. I'm here to actually attest to it. We wanted to do an actual mini museum of every single figure we had produced up to this point, and we found that we actually couldn't, because even between us, me, Magic, the designer, everyone knows who pours his passion into this brand, our design team, our sales team, we actually did not have every single figure in our possession, because if we make it, we sell it, we ship it, because we know that the fans are kind of like, how come I can't find them in my store? When are they coming out? So we spare no figures for ourselves and basically sent every single one we made out to retail. So we couldn't do a full soup to nuts, here's every figure we've done, but we got close to it. And then we realized, okay, this is probably a really great opportunity to talk to the fans directly and also get ahead of like the leaks. As someone that cares about my job in general, but also this brand in particular, we were white knuckling between every wave, expecting a shoe to drop because somebody somewhere cheekily got an image of something they shouldn't have, and then would blow our entire reveal plan to smithereens. And the last couple times we did it, we got away with one, then one got beat, and it's just a very tough cycle to be on, and we worked too hard for that. So we basically just said, you know what, let's tell everyone what's coming out for the rest of the year to a certain point, still keep some exclusives or surprises in our back pocket in case we do another fan fest this year. Mm-hmm. And get ahead of the nonsense of people trying to bust us on the Unrivaled and the all new Unmatched waves. And very grateful we got to do it, and the feedback was so terrific. So we're really excited about the results.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. I was like a kid in a candy store on Instagram, I tell you that much. But I like there's no greater feeling than seeing figures actually on display at reveals. Like I remember just like throughout my whole time collecting, that's how figures were like revealed. I don't know, Ringside Fest, Comic Con, all that stuff. You'd always see the
Right.
wrestling figures and everything. And so seeing them actually in like a glass detolf is like, oh my God, it's like nostalgia right in the feels, right in the swagger. It's nostalgia.
Nice.
Yeah. And I want to talk all about the Unmatched and everything and the wrestling buddies and everything like that. So, what was the mindset behind the figures that you did reveal at FanFest? Why those figures? Did those figures come into production and all that? And Unmatched and Luminaries as well is really interesting.
Yeah, sure. So if you'll notice, up to a certain wave, we showed either actual physical models or full color 3D models, or at one point, a gray model and or just a lineup of great images, taken by AEW photographers like Speedy and that crew. That would show you what the life cycle of how far we got in development in each of those waves. So the deeper into the reveals of 2021 that we got, the more you saw just more basic assets. So what we tried to do is we tried to show the stuff that's literally coming out of the factory in the next like 2 months. So that's where you saw either models. I brought props because fresh from the convention. And it's
Absolutely.
always good to see him in different lights.
Oh
The
wow.
very well received, beautiful Aubrey figure.
Just
Um,
posted on like
for
Ringside and everything like that. Just
yeah,
the photo got posted and everything.
yeah. So for these, we were able to show physical samples because we're at a certain milestone where we have them at our disposal. And it's the first, like bringing her there was the first time I ever saw her in person, so to speak, too. So it was
Wow, cool.
wonderful. And then naturally, as we got into deeper waves, it was more like, okay, so here's some work in progress assets. Here's a 3D model, but it's painted the way you're going to see the deco. Eventually, then I think the LJN Wrestling Superstars retro version of Cody, I'm sorry, not Cody, Darby, he was all gray, no
Yeah.
paint whatsoever. So we love that because we get to show you how the fresh new stuff that's about to come out is, but we also love giving you guys a peek in the curtain of like how things are coming together and how they're developing. So that's fun. So we wanted to make sure that you guys knew what was coming out for the rest of the year on Unrivaled. And there was a lot of conjecture and the occasional undefined mentioning by Jeremy Padower, our EVP and one of the great partners at Jazwares, saying, "Oh, and don't worry about Unmatched. With Unmatched, you're going to get more talent sooner, the newer talent, more women in the line, and a surprise or two." Well, we delivered on all that, which we were really excited about. And the surprise or two was, of course, we got the official licensing rights from LJN and Wrestling Superstars to produce figures in that same exact material, type of pose. And you got a little glimpse of it in the presentation that some folks did some like really zoomed in screenshots on Instagram. But even the packaging, while still in the same dimensions and footprint of an unrivaled or unmatched package, is completely decorated like an old LJN Wrestling Superstars blister card, with original art but updated, and even a surprise on the inside that if people don't figure it out between now and maybe end of summer, we'll do another little mini reveal of what's inside the figure as well. And that's wonderful. That's a fun way to get great talent out there in one of the formats that we all grew up with, right? Mattel and WWE do a wonderful job on the more like what we'll call it. They wouldn't call it this way, but since we're all talking as fans and off the clock, they had that very faithful to the Hasbro early 90s format that they were working on for years with new stars, classic WWE Hall of Famers, and it was super cool. That's one of the formats we all grew up with. The other ones, of course, being the LJN Superstars, and then, of course, the third in that trifecta being the Wrestling Buddies, which we also got the official licensing rights for because someone very wisely through the years held on to the trademark of Wrestling Buddies. If you notice, anything after Tonka never was called Wrestling Buddies. Some of them were from Toy Biz and Marvel when they had WCW. And then, of course, there have been various incarnations from Mattel over the years, and even a version I think that Jax did. They were never called Wrestling Buddies. They were meant to evoke Wrestling Buddies. They were similar stature, similar format, little bits, things were odd and off about them, but they could never claim to be the Wrestling Buddies. We found the folks who actually own that trademark and licensed it officially, which is super cool. And again, another little nostalgic pull for anyone that grew up with it, wants them for themselves, wants them for their kids. It's just a really fun extra layer on top of it. And then lastly, what you mentioned there too, they kind of spiced up the mixes of just the regular unrivaled waves you've been seeing. Every other wave of Unmatched will include either the LJN Retro Superstar, of which we kind of already teased Cody and Darby, and there's more to come after that. And then we'll leapfrog. Every other wave will include a Luminary. And Luminaries is meant to be looking into the great storied past of wrestling, either in its classic, literally old school form, or in the form of classic wrestlers and performers who are now closely affiliated with or literally performing every week on AEW Dynamite and in AEW pay-per-views. And Sting seemed to be the absolute perfect person to kick that off with. What you'll see with Luminaries is going to be a very interesting mix of other folks you could think of in that same context as Sting, who currently grace AEW programming with their awesome legendary presence. We're even looking at different ways to go back in ways that are very endemic to what AEW is all about, but also might get us some new cool figures that you either haven't had in years or maybe never even had ever before in your collections at all.
Cool. Okay. Wow. Like everything behind what you showed at FanFest, I don't know. It was really cool to see. Like everything, like when it comes to Wrestling Buddies and the just the idea of having LJNs and Luminaries like every second wave. Like I don't know who else is doing that. Like it's such a unique idea to me. I don't know. I could just be very foreign to other collecting, like outside collecting apart from wrestling. But it seems like very unique, and I don't even know how you'd get like the idea for that. So, which is really cool, and the whole thing with the Luminaries, I think, is a really awesome way to get like people like Sting and icons like that in that nature out there, and it's really cool. Yeah,
Excellent. Glad you thought so.
yeah, and
And you got up
just
you got up super early for us, didn't you?
no, I got up at like 10 a.m., which is early for me because I'm like an
Oh, okay.
hour like sleep through the day. Uh,
I could tell by the sunglasses.
yeah. See, I'm
In
not I'm
fact,
not used to all
I
this
feel like
bright light.
I should if I'm going to hang out with the Australian icon, I should probably also match your level of
That's
swagger to the
perfect.
best of my abilities.
You put my child sunglasses to shame with those.
Here, I'll put on my regular. They're prescription, so I could continue wearing them, but
Oh, cool.
I give the shade spotlight to you, sir, because you've earned it.
I don't know if I've earned anything, but I'll take. You know what? I'll take it. Thank you,
The fake
Gregory.
Then fake it till you make it. Okay.
Make it till you make it, exactly like that. Yeah, I want to talk about a little bit about what happened at FanFest as well. So you were showing off the video package in front of the whole crowd and everything like that, and then boom, what do we see? Adventure Cody. What the flip? What the hell?
Hopefully,
I'm sure you saw the video of me reacting to it, but man, that was
yeah.
hilarious. I want to know because I don't think I've ever seen that in like a reveal package as well. So just the cojones, to just put it like a whole oh, here's a little joke that no one will get at first. Like that's hilarious to me. Like oh my god.
We like to have fun together, and
Yeah.
look, there's people can ask with all sincerity why another Cody or why like another Jericho on the line. And the truth is, whether it's economics of action figure making or it's just like imagine, with AEW especially, when a wave hits retail, it's gone the moment the case pack gets there. And there's not going to be another figure on the peg until the retailer puts another case pack on there. So chances are some people, when they do find a wave 5 version of a character that was released at some point in wave 1, 2, or 3, it's their first opportunity to get MJF or Cody or Jericho or Omega or the Young Bucks. And we don't just rest on that. We then make each one different from the last one. So guys like us who want to collect every single one of them, we're gratified. And if you're just dipping in, getting your favorite folks, well, crap, I couldn't get Moxley in wave 2. He sold out super fast. But, I'm so glad to see him here in wave 6. I'm going to grab him now. And as one of the EVPs and faces of the organization, Cody gets a little bit of fun from the audience and from the collectors as another Cody. Now, meanwhile, every Cody we've done has been beautiful, highly meaningful. We don't just throw Cody against the wall and see if they'll stick. We try to do tribute to a guy who helped us have a new wrestling division to be excited about and to be a fan of. In parallel to that, a number of folks. What we did was we took that thought. It's like, well, how many Codys is too many Codys? And then we started thinking back to our old toy collecting days, whether we were kids or one of our guys who's a toy veteran. He actually worked at Toy Biz back in the 90s when, Marvel toys or Toy Biz as they were called then. And even if you look at Playmates with Ninja Turtles, they sort of ran out of ideas or fresh content from either the comics, the films, or the TV series to put out new versions of their favorite people. In fact, how many Spider-Mans can you put out in just his classic red and blue outfit? How many times can you do Don, Leo, Mike, and Raph and Turtles? So what you saw Toy Biz and Playmates both doing in the 90s, which I think has become like a cute trope its own in retrospect, is you had things like baseball Ninja Turtles, or you had scuba diving Spider-Man. At one point, I think Toy Biz must have had just like a free tooling model for like a 4-wheeler ATV bike. They put every Marvel figure on an ATV, including, as I'm quick to point out, yeah, and usually you get those like a KB Toys or like a Toys R Us where they have tons of space to get superhero toys, and naturally they want to fill those orders. What do you got? You got Spider-Man? Put a fireman's hat on him. Spider-Man with a firefighter's outfit. And the 4-wheelers are ridiculous because I don't remember too many Marvel comics where the Incredible Hulk was riding a 4-wheeler, or a character like Spider-Man who could stick to walls and swing between buildings 50 stories up would ever have use for a 4-wheel quad. And least of all, Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, why you would ever put him in flame on mode on a 4-wheeler with an exposed gas tank right next to him. Nobody at Toy Biz was kind of caring about those kind of details. We know Marvel back in the days before they became the entertainment powerhouse, they would license anything to anyone. So anyway, harkening back to some of the cheeky stuff from the 90s that we either grew up with or were collectors of, or in terms of one of my teammates actually worked on, we were like, okay, well, what if we did that to Cody? Imagine scuba diver Cody with the harpoon gun. Imagine snowboarding Cody. And of course, make one is each as obnoxious as possible. They all get the TNT title. They all have super high articulation, and then introduce it with like the flaming giant explosion ball of fire, a crazy like very retrograde 90s logo, and of course they're guitar riff, and then watch people's jaws drop like, oh, they lost their damn minds. And then don't give them too long, 7 or 8 seconds later, just kidding, don't screenshot this and say it's coming out before Christmas. AEW had a wonderful sense of humor about it. Jeremy, of course, our fearless leader at the office, was like, do it, because for toy collectors, they knew what we were up to. And then
Yeah.
if you didn't have that toy history, you'd go, "Oh my God, they really lost their minds. They're doing every Cody imaginable. They're making up Codys at this point," which is a fun in joke. So
Yeah.
glad you guys enjoyed it. Hope I didn't over explain it, but in case anyone either didn't see it or tuned in, like, what's wrong with them? Like, did they have something weird for lunch that they're doing this? No, no, no. It was all planned and it was all silly.
So what's the talk about, like, what if someone wanted to get an adventure Cody? Would they, do you have like, so with those studio shots that you took for the thing, did you have to dress them up and everything? So
Uh,
did those
they,
outfits exist?
that was a cunning use of Photoshop. Not that I like to
Ah, I
be,
see.
magicians keep their tricks secret, but this we're not magicians. We're just idiots who like have a good sense of humor and make toys. So that was very cunning use of Photoshop. That said, we I think if we've done anything, it's we've shown fans that if you guys really want something and are super stoked by it, we're listening. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see if that somehow took a life of its own on, and all of a sudden there were petitions and GoFundMe's and Kickstarters of like, we want Scuba Cody, we want snowboarding Cody.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait, hopefully Cody on a quad next wave. That'd be great.
yes, as long as he's not on fire, it's perfectly fine
Yeah.
because then no one gets hurt.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, dude, I've been laughing about that for like the past week. Just
Yeah,
adventure
your reaction
Cody.
was the best. I made sure to share that to everybody in my organization and some
Oh,
of our
thanks.
friends and family, so to speak. Like, this guy gets it.
Yeah, it's the funniest thing. Oh my god. Yeah, on the topic of like Double or Nothing and FanFest and everything like that, uh, I want to kind of get into scanning because if anyone didn't see it, Sammy Guevara actually recently put in his vlog. He was actually getting scanned, and cheeky little Magic made a cameo in the room, and I was like, "Hey, hang on a second, that's my boy. Hang on a second, they're scanning for figures." So, how much scanning did you do? I'll keep it really discreet, but how much did you do over the weekend?
Sure. So when we did it originally, it was in August of 2019, and that was at All Out in Chicago. At that point, we had not even announced that we were the toy partner yet. In fact, there was no news whatsoever on action figures. There was speculation. We would kind of like laugh and see people speculating. Oh, it's definitely Hasbro. I know a guy who knows a guy. Hasbro definitely got the license. They're going to announce it later in the year. So it was funny. Everything we did was under cloak and dagger. We were hiding in the hotel. We got like a little mini hotel suite where the talent could come in while preparing for the pay-per-view activities over the weekend, and they all came in one by one and got scanned. And we covered pretty much the entire roster up to that point, again, August 19, except for a couple of folks who either had issues traveling or, if you recall, Moxley made his debut appearance at Double or Nothing in May, but he wasn't at All Out. And as we learned, of course, over the summer, he got a staph infection from his arm, and he wasn't competing with anywhere. So he actually didn't make it out there. We didn't scan him, but I only mention that not because boohoo us, but if you see how great every single Moxley figure has been so far, that was all hand sculpted. There was not a single
That's
computer
crazy.
or
What?
CG model involved in that. That was all literally hand sculpted. And we've
So
done three
who's to
Moxes by
blame
now.
for
So
that? Is that all Magic?
what to blame is for the beautiful talent? Yeah, like
Yeah.
we have great sculptors, and
Oh my
as
god,
the art
that's
director
awesome.
for these, Magic's job is to understand and learn the nuance of every crevice, every angle of one's face, how thinking ahead from a 3D stage to, okay, well, how will a lady's makeup be applied here? Well, what kind of shading does a man have naturally, either through his beard or under his eye sockets, or not at all? So yeah, he's a wizard when it comes to that stuff, and he's a craftsman. So be able to get Mox not scanned but have great figures of him, that just goes to show you the talent we have on our team. And I think Pac was supposed to get scanned, but actually flew in from London that night for his match.
Mhm.
I think with Hangman. No, it wasn't Hangman. Hangman was with Jericho. Sorry, Omega.
Mhm.
Omega and Pac fought that night. We couldn't get Pac because he didn't come on time. But so now you think about what's happened at AEW since August of 19. Lots of new signings, lots of new fresh faces, as well as established legends. So the goal this past weekend was to get everybody that we hadn't got yet, and for folks that we do lots of, or for people who have maybe cultivated their personas or their gimmicks and evolved them even more since August. Maybe they make new facial expressions. Maybe they make a new wink of the eye, or a little smirk, or an outright face of anger or glee that we would want to capture in the scan. So we also rescanned a bunch of folks as well.
Cool. That's really exciting. Yeah. So
Oh,
when it
look at
comes
that!
to
Speaking of scanning, look at that. The new
beautiful.
women's champion.
Oh yes. How could I forget? let's talk about Britt Baker. So first figure in the line. This has been, definitely just shouted in your ear from the get go, from Britt Baker fans and collecting fans and wrestling fans and all that jazz. So, how is it to actually get a figure of her out now and also include her and have her be the chase? I think that's awesome.
It was great. Listen, could we have done it sooner? Should we have done it sooner? Would we have done it sooner? There's probably a yes to all three of those in varying degrees of either why we didn't, why we couldn't, and why we shouldn't have. We're glad we got her in now. And the fact is, AEW is so clever with their creative and if you notice, like a lot, like they all seem to love being on air and they love their gimmicks and angles because I think you notice it, you see it in the creative, but you've also heard the EVPs say it out loud and both when they launched and even since then that as a talent in AEW you're in the driver's seat of your career, of your persona, of your angles, of your kayfabe, and when we couldn't keep little Brand on shelf, literally and figuratively speaking, Brandy turned it into an angle. When we couldn't get Britt into the pipeline and lineup soon enough, whether it was because of an AEW point of view or a literal production issue, or because we changed factories in between one wave and another, and we had to reshuffle a bunch of things, she saw that fun opportunity to exploit it creatively, to create something that we could all kind of like rally around and make essentially another angle for us to kind of dovetail into on air and in figure, and that stuff's fun. We love that. Brandy's clever mind to make the figure part of her entrance, and where's little Brand. We loved that. We loved it, and we loved what it did for our sales, but also our partnership. And Britt and Cody and Jeremy all getting into it in various ways in social media. It was a lot of fun, and it said what we were all thinking and we all wanted, which is, where's my Britt figure? And when it comes out, it's going to be great. And naturally, we had to give her a chase in the same wave too. I think it would have been silly to not celebrate her twice, right in the first go round.
Awesome. Yeah. And also, I want to talk about the first time in the line as well. We also have Miro in that same unmatched wave one. Oh, speaking of which, oh, I was excited for this.
I'm glad you brought him up too, because he's a great example of, like, again, like, this is not studio photography that you guys saw during the weekend. I think, we love Ringside. We were happy to give them like a glimpse at the figures. I think today they posted all like the kind of like top down shots of them against like a dark background.
Yeah, yeah.
These are the same models, but it's just another good lesson too. Like, I looked at those pictures and I don't know whose phone it was. I don't know if it was an Android or an Apple. I don't know what the lighting conditions were in the room when they took it, but I look at it and go, oh, Miro looks pale. And especially because we know he's a very, very rigorous, rich-blooded man
Yeah.
who can appear to be either very well tanned or, at some cases, like almost bright red tanned. It depends on what day of the week it is, what his regimen is that week. So it's hard to get anyone's one tan in any one action figure in that one moment of their life. We have to create a new color in order to get MJF from Revolution last year, because he showed up so spray tanned or tanning boost, I'm not sure he'll say, that he was almost like a radioactive orange brown shade that none of us had ever seen before. And he was like, yeah, I know, shut the F up. So
Is that the unmatched two that you're talking about? The from Revolution? Is
no,
that from Revolution?
I
Oh,
don't. I think we did that there, but I don't think we made him like the crazy tan. But the
gotcha.
point
Okay.
I bring it up here is that the Miro picture was quite pale that they posted. But if you look here, he's got a very nice rich tan. And I'm not saying that as a point of defense. I'm saying it's funny how your camera versus my camera versus Ringside's camera versus anyone's camera
It's completely different.
can tell a different story. It's
Yeah.
also why we hate the leaks so much, because we still don't know how, but we're going to find you and them. We still don't know how that first Miro shot came out, but it was terrible. Like, your first look at him was fuzzy. It had some weird, like, almost like flash from what appeared to be someone's phone, and it didn't do the figure any justice. All it did really was to serve that the figure existed, and if you didn't care about the subtleties of photography or of action figure making, you'd go, "That doesn't look like Miro. He looks pale."
Like
So
through
here,
the camera
it
that
was
you're showing, it looks awesome. It actually looks
yeah.
really good.
This is just a MacBook Pro, camera, so nothing
Yeah.
special. So anyway, it's just fun that I love how he looks. He looks great, and I saw those Ringside pics this weekend. Sorry, today, and it made me go, oh yeah, this is great, because everyone's getting now, every time they see Miro or any of these figures, they're getting a little bit more of a glimpse at what they look like, because they couldn't see him in the flesh at FanFest. But yeah, he came out great. We're super stoked. He was really pleased. He's a man who's had many figures, and he was very, very stoked by this guy.
Yeah, Miro's definitely one of the top guys now. Even being TNT champion and everything like that, I think I've definitely been a mark for him in recent times. I think he's so dominant, and it's great that you're getting a figure out there because I think right now he's really shining in AEW as well. So,
Yeah,
whenever you get that figure out, I think that's gonna absolutely fly as well. And
I hope so.
also,
As a
how
matter of fact,
yeah
if we because he is such a big presence there, and probably have a good long reign, I imagine.
yeah.
This probably won't be his only figure. If I had my choice, and thankfully I do get a vote at the table in my position, I would love to make sure that we get a head scan of him with that absolute, utter demonic, childlike look of glee that he looked at all of us with before he picked up the snake bag and threw it up the entrance ramp on Sunday. That face, because he was goading everybody into like, you think I'm not going to do it, right? And it was very
He just
devilish
starts
to do that
swinging it.
to it. Yeah, to do that to an animal is very devilish, but the look in his face and in his eyes was almost like so charmingly gleeful and like that
Yeah.
if we can capture that in a figure, I can rest easy for the rest of the year.
And then the accessory, we all know what it comes with, a bag of snake. Bag of snake. And it comes with like a one of those wind up things. How like it's like one of those cards you pull it back and it goes, you wind it up and it just starts swinging. I think exactly yeah, exactly. That literally quite literally fly off shelves.
Yes, the burst on package would say with real snake flying action.
Exactly. Maybe Adventure Mirror can be a thing. But
He could
um
be he could be Safari, or Zookeeper Miro.
yeah, he's got like his
He's in charge.
safari hat and he
He's in
just
charge of the reptiles cage.
yeah, exactly. Oh my God, that's beautiful. Okay, you definitely have to pitch that. If you won't, I will. I'll pitch it right now, guys. Please, that's my pitch. Uh, I'm a grade A student in it. But I want to also talk about Unmatched 3 having pretty much excluding the LJ and Derby, having the whole, like not really the whole, but most of the Dark Order in one wave. How important was that, including Brody, of course?
That was great. It all started with Brody, and we were super proud to do it. And I think a couple of things converged at once. One was Brody, as soon as it makes sense, and when I say makes sense, we would do it in a heartbeat. But when's the right time to do it respectfully for as partners with AEW, with his family, and when the time was right, we jumped all over it. And then as we started piecing the wave together, it was like, okay. And this is funny. This is we were starting to talk about this before Dark Order, became fan favorites and got pops every time they walked into the arena. So Dark Order as like, wow, they would actually make really kick-ass looking action figures. How many toy companies can say like, yes, we have a character who's not the Gimp, but he certainly has an outfit similar to it, and he wrestles in front of kids on TV. So you've got that. Then you also had, I think, the appearance and rise of Anna Jay, plus our commitment to making sure that we had just continued more and more diversity in every wave. And that always starts and stops, of course, not stops, but certainly starts with making sure that the women's roster gets its full due in our waves as well. And, I think out of the first 4 or 5 waves, we only got, I think, 2 ladies in the mix, maybe 3. So it's important for us to keep upping the ante there. And I think as you saw in every wave on Raw we did, whether it was Unmatched or Unrivaled, we definitely are doing that. So then it just kind of took on a life of its own. It's like, my goodness, this is a really strong Dark Order dedicated wave. And what it does too is it leaves the holes open, so to speak, that anyone else who joins in the mix, anyone else who's currently on the Dark Order roster, now there's a nice little missing spot on your shelf that people are going to say, well, I need them too. I need them on the shelf as well. And what about a Hangman when he was kind of hanging out with them? When he wore that one attire in Dynamite, when they both, they all kicked ass, and he was like, all right, guys, let's have a beer. So we can tell that story in your collection over a number of different ways, but that one kind of kicking the door down with that lineup, all led by Brody, that made us really happy and proud.
Yeah, it's great to see as well. Definitely got a huge positive reaction over the weekend, which is the greatest thing. You love to see that as well. Uh, I
Certainly.
I want to go back to because I kind of got off topic there, but I want to go back to scanning. You guys remember that from 3 years
Oh yeah,
ago? Um,
sure.
so I kind of wanted to get into the in depth of scanning as well. So do you guys do like take a lot of expressions, or like how many expressions, and how do you decipher which one to choose?
Yeah, I think for the most part, we have a really good understanding and handle of almost everyone in the roster right now. We are omnivorous consumers of the content. We've gotten to know these wrestlers as people, as performers. So we'll typically go in there with a set idea, like, okay, we definitely want to capture some of these expressions. And again, like I mentioned before, if it's a talent we've scanned before, okay, that one thing you've been doing over the last 6 or 7 months, we've got to get that. But we also then do a couple passes too, where the talent gets to go, what would I do? If I could make a facial expression, or how would I want to see my figure, and put a little creative freedom in their hands. Most of them are born performers, so they're very eager to also offer that. Some of them will go, I don't know, you tell me, and that's fine. We have some of those in our back pocket too. So it's collaborative, and it's funny. Some of the folks who have been doing this for years and years, it's very old hat to them. And then for some of them who, this is literally their first 2 years in the business, someone you think had been doing this for many more years, and he has been, MJF, he knows exactly what he's going to do, how he's going to do it. He's telling us, okay, you want the camera over here. Like, he's sitting down and go, okay, hey, quiet back there. Okay, we're working. And then he lets the magic happen, and he turns on every single time. So it's fun to see the heroes we see on screen and in ring, that being themselves in front of a scanner, because chances are being themselves is to a high degree what you do see on screen when we tune in and when we watch them on social media. They're fun. They're a lot of fun.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's really interesting. I love getting in depth of stuff like that. I remember seeing just like behind the scenes of how scanning would go about. I think Mattel did like a thing years ago that had this big clunky machine, you had to sit, and then like this whole machine would do like a whole 360 around your head. And what
Yeah,
it seems
we've
is,
used this before. Yeah.
yeah, and what it seems like is I don't know, on the Sammy Guevara vlog it looked very more handheld, just very
Yeah.
easy to just, navigate and stuff like that, which is cool to
Yeah.
see.
Technology evolves, right? Think of how
Yeah.
either much smaller your phones got at one point, depending on what your life cycle is, and then now they've crept back up in size, right? Well, I want the Pro Max. I don't want just the regular, because
Yeah.
the regular is like, inch and a quarter in each way smaller, and my fat fingers can't type on it. Technology evolves, and sometimes machinery gets bigger or smaller as a result. But yeah, at this point, through through these projects and a couple other things we worked on in our various toy lives, it's fun to see that technology changing over time. And most of that technology is used across the board. It's not like they do it just for action figures. You see it for use in video games, films, computer projects that aren't necessarily for gaming, but involve a lot of CGI. So it's cool. It's cool to see that.
Mm.
We mark out for them as much as people mark out for us, the dorks that make the figures themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was gonna be for the video game because I was like, oh, okay, I remember the big clunky machines for the figures. Like, And so yeah, I thought it was gonna be the video game, and then it pans to Magic, and he's giving like a cheeky thumbs up and a smile, and I'm like, you sly devil,
which
I
we
knew
could
it.
which we couldn't do back in
Yeah.
August of 19. There was, again, I was making fun of how Max kind of like holds court when he takes over. He also like not like Sammy vlogs, but he also was like, I want, he wanted footage. This is a career milestone for him,
Yeah.
23 years old and being scanned for an action figure. And like there's one piece of footage he didn't upload because we watched it with him again, and you literally see Magic go and just like duck out of frame because he could see that MJF was getting him on his camera. We hadn't announced anything yet. Nobody knew we were there. To the
Right. Okay.
extent that when Jericho got the title, walked backstage, had his little first, squabble with the Young Bucks there, and then proceeded to do his rant all the way down the backstage area, leading, of course, to the catering area. We're in frame, like you
Yeah, I
can
was gonna
clearly
say,
see me.
weren't you there?
I
I
think I'm
think I
actually
remember.
wearing this T-shirt, and like an idiot, I'm standing on a chair with my phone, going, "Oh my God, Jericho's cutting a promo right in front of us," and I'm
So
going, "Boy, I hope no one sees me."
yeah.
And Magic did the whole Homer Simpson like going into the hedges, bushes thing. He
Yeah.
really just sunk it. He sunk into a curtain, and nobody could find him because I wasn't maybe as recognizable to the wrestling community at that point, but Magic was, because he had worked at WWE for Mattel.
Right.
So
Yeah.
guys like Bill McKenna and Steve Ozer, friends of all of ours, they could have gone like, "Oh snap, there's Magic. Oh, Wicked Cool Toys must be doing AEW." So that was like, we were definitely afraid of that. And now, fast forward a year and a half later, almost 2 years, Magic can be like, "Hey guys," when Sammy's vlogging in the scanning room.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's the progression. I love it. Yeah. I want to talk about like the people from Mattel and Jazwares, because I think if you look on Twitter and stuff like that, Brian Alvarez always posts the ratings for AEW, ratings for NXT, Raw, and stuff like that. And there's always such a war between AEW and NXT, like just AEW and WWE, for some reason, some people can't just sit down and say, "Oh, I like wrestling. I'm gonna watch this, and I'm gonna watch this as well."
Right.
Apparently, some people, it's hard to do that. So they also, I think, feel the need to incorporate that into the figures as well, which kind of sucks.
Hmm.
Like you'll see, uh, just strict Mattel collectors just completely, shitting on like AEW and stuff like that, and then it goes into the figures as well. And I always thought that was super unfair. It's like, yeah, it's wrestling. Yeah, let's all get along, guys. Come on, please.
Yeah, look, our mentality is this:
Yeah,
both businesses are small comparatively. Like we all know each other. We've all either worked with each other before,
yeah. Like
or
you're
we
all
may work with
friends.
each
Like it's
other.
so weird.
Yeah,
People are like, yeah, it's strange to me.
yeah. The first ever like local indie shows like in the Long Beach, harbor here in California, I went to were with the elite crew from Mattel. Great guys. First time I ever saw Eddie Kingston in a ring was with those guys, and we have fun. And a couple of us worked with each other at previous jobs. So I get the fan mentality to do that. I do recall being like 18 or 19 and having an internal war over like, God, am I a Blur guy or am I an Oasis guy?
Yeah,
And then at
yeah.
one
I'm
point I was
both.
like, and at one point I was like, no, I'm both. And
Yeah,
why would I even kid myself?
yeah.
Do I read the Enemy or the Melody Maker? I read them both. Who are we kidding? Um, and the thing about wrestling, when you do have two big companies or one big firmly established giant of entertainment and one new pro wrestling company who really wants to do things their way, I get the temptation to kind of fan up with one or the other. But the truth is, it's so good for wrestling to have both of them.
Mhm.
It was so good in the '90s into the early 2000s to have the zenith and then the final last echoes of what WCW and ECW were before they all got folded into the Stanford family. The sport, the entertainment, the culture needs it, and it's never been more successful than when you've had those moments where you've had a couple different key players. You had an NWO on one side, and you had a Stone Cold on the other, and then the DX on the other. That was good fun days. Our aspiration is to relive that or some permutation of it in the modern age in 2022, 23, and 24 with both WWE and AEW now.
Yeah. And I think competition is always going to be a thing, and I think it just makes products better. Like I was talking with about this with MBG, who I had on my channel not too long ago, and we were talking about just, yeah, competition just makes everyone work harder, work better, work smarter, work, more efficiently, and
I think so, and we
yeah,
all
for sure.
buy each other's product. Like
Yeah,
I've gotten so
that's
many
awesome.
nice,
Yeah.
fun messages and DMs from whether it's Steve or Bill or Rob. Rob's a guy after my own heart. We're both writers. He professionally is paid to be a writer. I just sneak my writing skills into the job wherever I can. But we have an appreciation for like God, the copy on the back of the oh God, what was it? The ring that came with Hogan and Stone Cold, but the Masters of the Universe edition.
Oh
The
yeah.
copy on the back of it was so gorgeously written. I took a screenshot of it. I was like, Rob, like this makes me weep because it's goofy from a wrestling standpoint. It's goofy from a Motu standpoint, and it's just beautifully written. And we get nice messages from those guys too, about the work that we're doing. It's just, yeah, why fuss and fight? We all have jobs to do. We all love wrestling, and it's good for all of us.
Hmm. Yeah, of course. I want to go back onto the figure side of things. Uh, what's the most anxious, like what's the thing that get people get most anxious about during the middle of like producing a wave, like from your standpoint, from Magic? Because the wave one figures, there was like, issues with the skin tones and everything like that. I still loved them. I still think they're really good looking figures. uh but I could imagine like what's just going through your mind, like, oh, we have to release this, you're trying to set a high standard, and something's
Sure.
off about it, you know what I mean? So just go into detail about that a little bit.
Yeah, like as with any job, any creative endeavor, any thing you're producing that a lot of people need to be completely dialed into and on sync with, and then even then, anything around us could potentially knock it on, on its arse, so to speak. It's tough. Things don't always work out the exact way you planned it. Sometimes there's happy surprises, and like,
Mhm.
oh wow, I didn't anticipate because I've only seen like 2D and 3D versions, but when I saw like the metallic washes
That's
in the paint
beautiful.
of his outfit. I wasn't planning on that, but those guys at the office knew what they were doing, or they stumbled into something great, or they planned it perfectly and it was executed perfectly. That to me was a happy surprise. Um, I mean, that has to be the best Dustin figure ever
Yeah,
made,
that's
like
one of my favorite
in
Dustin
by any
attires for
company
sure.
ever.
Yeah.
And I say that proudly, knowing that we put out, Blood and Guts, Blood Brothers, and and his Wave 2 figure. But boy, I mean, whether it's skin tones, whether it's fighting over the nuance or lack thereof of deco, um, anything can go wrong, and that's why the team has to be so dedicated and passionate and on the ball to anticipate problems and get ahead of them, or react very quickly to them when we see they've manifested. Or in some cases, sometimes you just don't see it until it has been produced, because something down the line, let's say there was a QA or QC issue, or someone sneezed the wrong way at the factory.
Yeah.
Anything could happen. We all make mistakes and or are subject to oopsies. So then I think we've done a good job in those cases when you literally can't physically stop the boat from shipping into the harbor to bring products into the stores. We look at those things and go, how do we get in front of it, and how do we be honest with ourselves and with our fans and say, hey, you might see something awry on here, or hold on, we already know there's gonna be a running change to fix X, Y, and Z. We found that honesty and openness is always the best policy, and to be able to affect the change on something can do two things. One, hopefully in your guys' eyes, it shows that we've got credibility and that we care, and that we're not just pumping out factories in a machine and products and putting them on a boat.
Mhm.
And weirdly enough, because we're also collectors, it's like, well, hey, now there's two versions of that character. Now you have two different reasons to collect them. We didn't do it that way on purpose, and we certainly would never want to give anyone that impression. But I had the two different Han Solo heads from the Kenner run, from 1977. I remember for a fact, because one of them I used to compulsively stick up my nose when I sucked my thumb as a kid. Don't know why I did it, but I thought that I had shrunk his head by sticking him up my nose all those years. Later on, I learned, oh, there was two heads. There was a running change on the Han Solo 1977 figure. Go figure. It wasn't my corrosive nose nostrils that made his head shrink smaller. That was just the first version of the figure. No one at Kenner, I think, ever had social media and a foundation to say to folks, hey, check out the skin tones on these. We're going to do another variant wave to show you how good they can be.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff that we do. We try to catch it. If we can't catch it, we always try to fix it. And we try to keep that level of honesty and accountability with you guys.
Yeah, you really showed everyone, like all the collectors, that you all you guys really do care, because some waves are like, oh yeah, we'll do this, we'll end up doing this, we'll fix it up, but whatever. But you guys actually went through with it and did it, which I think a lot of people from collecting standpoint, from a business standpoint, can just really respect that, because you're releasing all these other waves as well at the same time, and you're like, okay, well, let's make time for this one B, and
Yeah,
then here it
not
is, people have
not
it in hand.
easy.
Yeah, no.
Definitely not easy, but we try to create contingencies for ourselves to make sure that we can always we'll get you back on the re-up, so to speak.
Yeah, awesome. Of course, yeah. I want to know, what's the figure you're most looking forward to working on? Whether it's maybe scanning that you did or you haven't done, maybe it's someone who's newly debuted into AEW and you haven't gotten a chance to do talks with them. But what figure are you most excited to work on?
That's really tough. I think if you that's like asking me like what my favorite music is or what albums have you listened to this week. If you ask me
Yeah,
that both those same questions like every 3 weeks, I'm gonna give you a different answer.
yeah,
It's not because I'm wishy washy or flippy floppy. It's because like I have such an omnivorous appetite for everything we do that every wave has someone that I can't believe we did them. I can't believe how good they came out, or I do believe it because we busted our asses to do it. And then okay, who's my next one? And most of them are for very different reasons. Some of them are literally for just the purely physical part of it. I think anything that you've seen from us, whether it was the actual product or the reveal hint that we did this past weekend, um, Proud and Powerful, Ortiz and Santana, there's this very tangible and intangible thing about them that just makes for absolutely like killer action figures. Their attitude, how we can capture that attitude and look in their eyes and the postures and um, articulation that you can get those poses they do in the ring, and the attires they put on. They're very generous with like the cool outfits they put on. Um, I know what we're working on for the next version of them, and I certainly obviously we proudly shipped the one a couple waves ago. Those guys are killer action figures. They're so good.
yeah,
Um, for slightly different reasons, same story with Darby Allin.
yeah,
He just looks so good. He doesn't look like a superhero or what you would always even really necessarily expect to be like a wrestling physical persona, but he looks like everything that you love about a rock star or
yeah.
about like a graphic novel come to life. and everything about him is genuine. Again, why he's successful, why AEW is successful. He doesn't have a gimmick. He has, I'm a wrestler, I'm a skater, I'm straight edge, I'm into music, I'm into living my darbiest life, and half the time it's in black and white. To be able to cap that in an action figure, that gets me excited. For different reasons. A, she looks absolutely beautiful and like herself, and she's now a favorite of mine because when I had the opportunity to show it to her, she was literally emotionally touched. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
could see in her face, she's going, "Oh my god! 2 years ago, I was not refereeing on television. Now I am refereeing on television, right? Main events. I'm hosting a podcast, and they just showed me an action figure. I'm now an action figure." And she got weepy, and she got huggy, and we just made that person's day. And what a privilege and an honor to be able to do that. So that makes her one of my favorites. The anticipation leading up to her, and the kayfabe, and the goofiness, and her also genuine reaction of finally seeing her, that makes her a favorite. Sheeta's figure, beautiful. That makes her a favorite of mine. Like I said, I can go on and on,
Mm.
because each wave has a new nugget that we've cracked open for ourselves for the first time, and either we're just happy with it, or the fans are happy with it, and the talent's happy with it. That makes our day.
Yeah, I remember hearing you talk about in an interview. I think not too long ago, or maybe it was Jeremy or something like that. But I heard it through the grapevine, made its way over to Australia via satellite. That you guys were actually working a fair few months ago on having a wave come out per month. And is that going to happen now with Unmatched?
Yeah, so good question. I know we kind of teed up what the intent of Unmatched was earlier, and naturally, I think the intimations that Jeremy first put out there before there were any reveals was that Unmatched is going to be the way to get more figures out more often and get you new looks at the roster that the pipeline of Unrivaled maybe wouldn't be able to deliver just based on the pure chronology of things, timing of pumping out product, and even introductions into the roster. Sometimes you got to get someone who's new before someone who's been on the roster for a while because there's a heat seeker attached to their back, or because there's something in the storyline. So Unrivaled is a very linear pipeline, and that was going to always be challenging and fun to get different talents in there and still get our Batmans and our Leonardos and our Red Power Rangers in every way, which of course be the Darbys, the Kennys, the
Got to put your
Codys, and so
business hat
forth.
on sometimes, you know?
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. This one happens to be a MoMA, Museum of Modern Art edition of the New York Yankees hat. But
Yeah.
uh, what Unmatched gives us the ability to do is deliver more in the pipeline. But now at retail, the other challenge we've had was, how do you keep them in stock? Because the figures, knock on wood, thank you for your fandom, thank you for loving the figures, thank us for hard working on them. They're flying off the shelves. So how do we get the pipeline even more fulfilled for each retailer to actually have figures on the shelf? So through their partnership, through our hard work, Unmatched represents the new essentially peg. So you walk in any store, in the ideal situation is you'll have like a vertical stripe of Unrivaled pegs, and right next to it you'll have Unmatched. Unrivaled comes out 1 month, excuse me, 4 to 6 weeks later, boom, you have you have an Unmatched there. While that's on shelf for the subsequent 4 to 6 weeks, boom, another Unrivaled appears. So if you time your retail visits right, or your pre-sales on .coms, that when to set your wallet, set your watch, and set your expectations for new figures, new versions of your favorite figures, and of course, first in the lines, exciting new stuff that you hadn't seen before. And by doubling up the number of figures, we can do that with the talent roster, and we can start introducing those fun things like luminaries and like the LJN wrestling superstars.
Yeah. Beautiful, yeah. How, because I know how dire shelf space is as well in retail. So was it hard trying to convince the Walmarts and the whatnots, hey, we're gonna have like a whole new line, or were they completely on board with it?
What helps is that they couldn't keep Unrivaled on shelf at the time that we made
Yeah.
the proposal. So look, we want to ramp this business up. We don't want to just sell out of a case pack every time, every time one arrives, and then, well, when can we get another one for you? There was a lot of pressure on us to do well out of the gate, because this was AEW's first ever product line, besides their great T-shirt business, and this was us stepping out as a Jazwares, a leading manufacturer in boys action. We make Halo, we make Fortnite, we make Roblox, we make Pokemon. So this was a big investment for us, and we wanted to make sure that it came out of the gate strong. Once it did, then it gives you a partnership level of leverage to go, well, we want to scale this up. This isn't just like a one and done thing. This isn't like, oh, it's a nice little business to have. We want to grow this and scale this. We want to help drive AEW's success. And we want them to help drive ours. So by introducing that second set of facings in the form of Unmatched, the retail folks got it. Because if anything, it helps them get more figures into their stores, into their warehouses for e-commerce, and onto shelves sooner and more frequently, so they can enjoy that very quick turn. Because once they arrive on Brickseek or just through social media, I found some, boom, they descend on the store, they're gone.
Yeah, exactly. Which is really good because I remember Jeremy saying we brought out very limited what casings and stuff like that, just so it's very smart, like a business standpoint as well, because the more they fly off shelves, yeah, the more these stores are going to want these figures in their stores and all that stuff. So what you did with the first few waves was super, 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 super smart. How important is it to kind of have like fan input to the figures and sort of get their ideas and with the thing like the Orange Cassidy from Wave 3, just getting the hands in the pockets like that was a must. I'm so happy you guys did that. Yeah, how have fan ideas implemented the waves?
We always listen. We love to hear feedback, whether it's on something we just put out or, hey guys, when will you ever do this? Even in the form of like, again, I'll pick on in a good way, Aubrey. When we announced her, she's the new figure in the authentic scaled ring for Ringside Collectibles. The first one, it was Kenny Omega. That was a simple, hey, we love Kenny. We want to give a wrestler in the ring, and also we shipped that at the same exact time we shipped Wave One. So it was a pure case of timing and economics to put one of the key people in the ring there. Especially Kenny, who never had an action figure before AEW. So that was a great double down. But we knew from day one, hey, at some point, we're going to want to get a referee in there. We're going to want to get someone else in there who's part of the overall AEW presentation and help you build out that AEW world, whether you're playing with it or displaying it. But the feedback we're getting now is, hey, we love that Aubrey figure. She looks great. If I buy the authentic scale ring again, will there be anything different about the ring, not just the figure? We've even gotten some very distinct calls to action. Like, can you do like a limited edition version of Aubrey without the ring, knowing that you still want to, put out a new ring? We're listening to all those feedbacks and comments. We're literally taking notes and going, what makes the best sense for us and the fans and AEW, and how's the best way to split the atom there? And that's just one example. We do it all the time with, whether it's something as like rudimentary as that figure sucks, or hey, I like this one better because of A, B, and C. We take note of all that. We use our brains and our hearts, and we apply it and try to do better every time out the gate.
Yeah, that's awesome because I think you have to listen to the fans when it comes to that sort of stuff because that's your demo. That's the people you're making it for. You know what I mean? So if they're
Yeah,
happy, everyone's happy. Business is happy. Everything like that is it's steamrolling. It's always
yeah.
catching speed.
It helps that we're all collectors too. It helps that we all
Mhm.
collect some other figure line or some other even objects, whether it's streetwear or whether it's trading cards. We all understand because we live that life too. And then I always you always give props to where you came from. I'll always be in debt to the Power Rangers community because that was my. I always worked on various toy lines all at once in my various toy jobs. It was never like one singular line. I always like spun 7 or 8 plates all in a row. And a lot of toy people do. When I joined Power Rangers, it was because the specific opportunity was to be you're going to work on one brand, you're going to work on it with one IP and one fandom, and that was appealing to me. Talking to Power Rangers fans, realizing, okay, I missed out on this completely. I'm of the age where I was just getting out of that stuff and I was getting into rock and roll, driving a car, running around New York City like a maniac, music. I knew Power Rangers was on. I had a nephew that watched it. I didn't know anything about it. I educated myself, and I did so not just by devouring, Wikipedias and Rangerpedias. I literally just sat there and talked to fans for literally hours. The
Mhm.
fans would walk me around a Comic Con or a flea market or a Power Morphicon and go, okay, that Morpher's never been done by Bandai since the first series. People would kill for that. Okay, that Ranger, don't ever go near that one because of X, Y, and Z. And I got such good, rich understanding from people who, for them, that was their Star Wars growing up.
Mhm.
It all clicked and it made sense. So without that community and without that kind of partnership I had with them to make things that they liked and to make me smarter and better at my job, I might not be as apt to have done so with AEW as quickly or with Halo as quickly. So I'm very grateful to them for that, and I always put them over whenever I can because that Power Rangers is still going strong. 30 years later,
Yeah.
and it helped influence my career too.
Yeah. You were talking about just like conventions and all that. How important is it to go back to that way of reveals, just conventions in general, being with fans in person. I would love to visit one day and see these reveals in person. I would like to meet all you guys and everything like that. All the figure community, you, Magic, MBG, all that fun stuff. So how important is that to get back to that, of course, safely and gently?
We're really really excited too. That's why we left it the chance of very short amount of timing and short amount of resources to put together a fan fest that was a little bit of a jagged around the edges when it came to the presentation part. But you know what? I grew up early hip hop and punk rock, so I don't mind a little bit of jagged edge every now and then.
Of course.
And the fans were with us; they were there for it, and they understood why we were there and what we were doing. To be able to scale that up and go back to doing a San Diego Comic Con, a New York Comic Con, international shows outside of the U.S., and of course the AEW type of events that Dana and her team put together. We think it's great for the community. We get together, we get to exchange ideas, we get to mark out together. It's much different than doing it on our phones and doing it on our screens, which I think we've tried really hard to keep doing that really well too. And it's always going to be a part of our catalog of how to talk to fans. But there's nothing beats being there on a show weekend, whether it's a big Comic Con where there's a million brands, or whether it's a dedicated thing like C2E2 was last year, where Revolution happened. Perfect storm of new fans, burgeoning fans, and an AEW pay per view right in the backyard of
And
of
you
the
actually set
convention.
up
So
with like the AEW, like at the AEW booth at C2E2, right?
yeah, we
Yeah,
were there. We were essentially like their backyard.
that's
If you
cool.
came in the front, the first thing you saw was the giant awesome T-shirt and merch booth. Right behind there was us. It was great because the talent would kind of just stick their head through the curtain into our booth and realize, oh crap, it's the action figures, and they would literally just start looking at the figures, or would go, oh no, it's gonna turn into a meet and greet. Let me just duck back behind the curtain again
Do
because
the
I'm supposed to be.
magic Homer thing, you know?
Yes, because I'm due at a panel in 20 minutes, and I can't get stuck here looking at
Yeah.
toys and signing autographs. But it was great. The only reason we were able to get John Moxley that morning after he won the championship was because his first appointment for the day was a meet and greet, and he thought our side of the booth was where the meet and greet was. Oh, John, we're going to show your figure off for the first time this weekend, and look, we put Jericho's belt on you instead. He goes great, and he immediately poses for a picture. So we love
That
it.
was when he had like the big gash above his eye, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yes,
remember that.
yes.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Um, So
Uh,
those kind of things are awesome, and we can't wait to do more of them. And we all play it safe, we all play it right and smart. We seem to be on the path to getting there again, so we're very
yeah.
happy with that.
So yeah, I want to thank you again for coming on to here. I'm going to finish out with some closing questions, but yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, we get to do this in person one day. I would love to do like a little sit down podcast thing. That'd be
That would
hilarious.
be
That'd be fun.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. To do so with the Australian icon, with the pleasure will be mine.
Oh, thank you, VP. I will take that. I will take that, and I will use that, and I will boost my ego for the next week with that. So thank you very much.
And we didn't even talk music. Like I think, like let's
Oh
do
my
this again
god.
sometime
Yeah,
soon.
I would
Like
love to.
there's probably another good milestone where we can do. So I can't believe you said that this week with new AEW figures, but I'll put a stack of records next week too, and I'll throw some album covers on the camera there to because we seem to have a very similar generational musical DNA about the
Mhm.
music we seem to like and follow and talk about. So that would be
Yeah.
fun to mark out about that too, because that's my other passion.
Yeah, we've just talked like completely like for hours just about music and different music. So I would love to do a part two with you, just talking strictly like about music and figures and whatnot. But I'd love to integrate music into it for sure. I'm sorry we didn't get enough time to do it today, but this week has just been so heavy and so grand for Jazwares and stuff like that. And I wanna finish with some closing out. Oh, what you? Is
It's
that
Shoyo.
Sheeta? Oh, Shoyo, not Sheeta. Oh my
Yep.
god, I got confused because what's the? I'm dying. What's the character that you named Shoyo off there?
Oh, Shoyo Hanada from Haikyuu.
That's right. Yeah, and you
And
were talking with
I know,
Sheeta about
and
that.
I wasn't trying to bring it up, for, oh, cool, I get to talk to Sheeta about something cool. It was like
Yeah.
I told her, because of her match, I said, oh, really hoping for you to have victory tonight, Gambate. And she went, oh, Gambate. I said, oh yeah, I don't speak any Japanese, but I do watch a lot of anime. I pick up little things here and there. And she's, so we started talking about her favorite animes. She said Haikyuu. I said, oh, we love Haikyuu. I have a Shiba Inu, and his name is Shoyo, after the little giant from the. I never would have thought I'd watch a volleyball anime before, but it is one of my favorite series of all time now.
Yeah.
And here, this is Shoyo.
Oh, hi, Shoyo. That's so cute. I love Shivas. Oh my
He's being very
goodness.
calm, which is unlike him.
Yeah, Ashiba's normally very, very crazy, very crazed.
Yeah, they're very fun and very kinetic and hyperactive. They're high energy, so you gotta walk. They're like huskies. You gotta walk around a lot or let them run around a lot. But he's being calm now because we're getting dinner started in the kitchen, and he's
Yeah.
probably waiting to be fed.
Yeah. Classic dogs. Classic dogs. They only want food and love. Gonna love that.
Indeed.
Yeah, but yeah, the final closing questions I want to ask is, where do you see this company, these lines, in the next 5 years?
AEW or Jazwares or both?
Both, yeah.
The Jazwares part's almost the easiest to answer, and it's very proud to say because the company's grown so much in the last let's call it 2 years. We were knocking on the door of being a top 10 toy company. We're now a top 7, arguably top 6 toy company.
Wow.
So the Jazzwares is on a real roll. I've got the best management team a guy could ever ask for at this point in his career. I've got the best teammates, the best designers, sales guys, procurement and operations people who actually get the stuff shipped. Like, it's such a great operation to be a part of. And I think where we are in our growth as a company is perfect in our partnership with AEW because we have the know-how, we have the ability to make great product, but we're also young and scrappy, and we're not the old monolithic way of doing things. And AEW's proven time and again that that's not how they operate either. They make up great stuff, great angles, great creative, pivots and shifts on air and behind the scenes and backstage. They think differently, but they still have that purest heart of what makes a great storytelling in the ring. So we're actually just really great one-to-one partners for our various and for our respective life cycles. We keep doing our jobs. We keep helping pro wrestling grow, and we do our humble part in offering up stuff that you guys want to buy and want to put into your life to be a part of that AEW fan experience. And they just keep rocking it the way they have been. Pro wrestling is just going to keep getting stronger, get more eyeballs, and then you get those one magical moments that either were planned or just took everyone by surprise. That all of a sudden, all the squares and looky-loos and passersby you haven't given wrestling a thought in 15 years, all of a sudden they're hooked again. And those are the most magical moments where then everything is up for grabs, and we can have years of growth and excitement and special relationship with each other, which we already have.
Awesome. That's beautiful. That's a great closing question. And I also just realized that I did ask my store minions to ask a couple questions. So I'll fire a few off here. You can answer them quick
Hi,
if you
hi,
want.
Stormies. Good to meet you guys. In the proxy of Nick here.
Yeah, I completely forgot about you, but it's okay. I'm an icon. I can do that every once in a while.
You have to expect that occasional treatment at the hands of an icon. It's partially
Exactly.
why we all follow an icon. It's like to occasionally bask in your shadow, as well as get the occasional bone thrown our way.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly, exactly that. But anyway, let's get into a few questions. This one comes from It Figures 89. Are there any more retail carriers we should be looking out for in 2021/2022?
Yes, I think globally you're going to start seeing us scale up more into retailers across the world. Getting the line out the door first and foremost. We had a launch partner in the U.S. in the form of Walmart, which we were very lucky and grateful for, but also definitely earned. So
Mhm.
obviously the idea was we had to make that a success, shovel every figure we could in there and Ringside's direction, and then build it from there. And I think as you've seen each subsequent season, more retailers are getting on board. Now your Targets, now your Amazons, now your Smiths in the UK. Expect that to happen globally. because I'm not sure where the question comes from, where in the world, but just know that either through distributors or through Jazwares is really good in the trenches in each region and territory sales force. The more figures we can make and the more we get them across the world, we know that we want to serve everybody.
Hmm. Awesome. Yeah. Great. Hopefully Australia's on that list soon. I believe
Yes,
I believe
indeed. We've
one B
been
is gonna
fighting for
be
it.
Australian, right? It's gonna be at retail one B. I heard
Yes,
that. Yeah.
that was the plan from the moment that we announced it, and then of course we had to kind of like make sure that it came out right and took a little bit longer. But yeah, 1B was essentially going to be the pilot wave to get out there, and plus it would be nice to get the first wave of figures, that core set of talent out
Yeah.
to Australia to enjoy the same way that Canada and US and UK did.
Yeah, I missed out on those initial Wave 1 bucks, and they're like my favorite at time. Elvis, it's freaking sick. So I'm very excited to hopefully see them on shelves, which would be really cool. This one comes in from Suplex Network underscore AUS, stands for Oz. Shout out my other Australian icons.
Right
This
on.
one comes from, yeah, Suplex Network saying, can we get a Fuego del Sol figure? I know he's not signed yet, but still. So it's like extras on Sammy Guevara's vlogs and everything like that. I hate to call them extras because it's such a degrading term, But wrestlers that are on Sammy's vlogs and everything like that, they've become such a personality. How possible is it to get those figures?
Well, now that we got a dual pipeline of Unrivaled and Unmatched, that helps us get more people in sooner than we might have otherwise. So there's always that, and then it always comes down to like what AEW's talent relations are with any individual talent, right? Sometimes you've got folks that are, I think what did Tony Khan say about Leo Rush, in the excuse me the press scrums this week, right? He has a handshake deal with Leo. Okay, so as a toy company, our job is to investigate that. Does that mean we have product rights for him? Does Dana and her team have merch rights in the forms of T-shirts and that sort of stuff? So whenever someone comes in, we always do our diligence and say, okay, are they under contract? Are they a long-term investment? Because our business is long lead, right? I come up with a line, vet it with magic, we workshop it, make sure everyone's happy. We present it to AEW, and I love it. Well, then we've got roughly like 9 months from that moment on to get it out the door. A lot happens in 9 months. New signings. Some folks may go a different direction in their
Babies
career and go
being
somewhere
born,
else.
everything.
Babies being born.
Yeah.
Doing cowboy shit in diapers. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Congratulations to Hangman as well, by the way. That's awesome.
Yes, congratulations. So yeah, like we look at every talent on what AEW. What do you guys want to do? Are they in your mix? And we'll be very happy to figure out the perfect way for them.
Beautiful, yeah. And then this last one comes from, we all know him, MVG 1211. And he says, don't tell him I told you, but you should tell him how much you liked my photos. Um, hey, Greg, I really like MVG's photos. No,
Good.
but
Glad to hear
also,
it.
all seriousness behind,
He's
yeah.
definitely a talent.
Yeah, he's probably one of I like love his shots, and I'm so glad that you guys have him on board as well, for however long. But yeah, the shots he's been producing and everything is beautiful. Like with all jokes aside, I actually really do love his photography a lot. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, we're spoiled. I think it makes us feel good that our products are worthy of shooting in that way. But there are so many good talents out there across the Micro Machines brand that I'm also in charge of, um, Pokemon, Halo, AEW. There's like it's such a neat thing. Like this didn't exist 10 and 15 years ago, where fans who are either hobbyists or it is their burgeoning career to take something and take toys and turn it into art. Uh, Beautifully composed shots, the lighting, the realism, the use of post or even like practical effects. Again, we mark out to all kinds of beautiful things too. And there's such, it'd be too long and it'd be a shame if I forgot anyone in particular to list off like the number of accounts that I follow that I have to like literally carve out an hour a day if I can do it to just be like, oh my God, that's amazing. Nice. Big hearts, eyes, because these are all genuine emojis that, that their pictures make me feel. Um, and I'm proud of our part of that equation that we can put out figures that are, and toys and vehicles and Pokemon creatures that are all worthy of that kind of artistic approach.
yeah, of course, yeah. Uh, Again, thank you everyone for sending in questions. That was a beautiful set of questions. I do say this for myself. Mwah, cherry on chops, chef's kiss. You got a chef's kiss from Greg. Now that's a big accomplishment. Uh, but yeah, I want to thank you again, Greg, for coming on. Is there anything you want to shout out? Anything that's coming up, or whatever? You just roll out the red carpet. This is me rolling up the fictional red carpet, and it's all yours.
Thank you. No, thanks for having me on. Much appreciated. Love your energy and your connection to the fandom, and love the fandom. We love the community. So thanks for being there with us each step of the way. Thanks for helping us get better. Thanks for celebrating it when we do knock it out of the park, because there's plenty of those times as well. In fact, I would say the ratio is still more the latter than the former. But we're humble, and we know that every wave takes our heart and soul to make it great. So thanks for your faith. Thanks for being AEW fans, because that's what we are too, and we're here to do them justice.
Cool. Thank you so much, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one. Look forward to doing this again maybe someday.
Yeah.
You know, if you could find it in your swaggy heart.
I don't know. I might have to get that checked out after today. I don't know. I have to go book a doctor's appointment to get my swagger checked. But yeah.
What box do you check on the form when you're at the office for that? Like nurse.
I think it's like a little symbol. It's like that little S symbol that you would like do on in school and stuff like that. You know.
Like yes. I always thought it was like for like Suzuki or Isuzu, but none of us ever knew what it was. Like we would do that and the dead Kennedy symbol. And nobody knew what any of it meant. Yeah, nobody ever knew what it meant. But yes. Anyway, hope your insurance covers the swag issues. And
look, I don't. The Australian Icon's not getting paid enough. Let's be honest. So, but yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, thank you again, Greg. You can find him on his socials. I'll link them down below. Thank you again.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, you're here again? You're still here? Wow, you made it this far into the video? Well, congratulations. Thank you for doing that. And if you stuck around to the end and you haven't liked or subscribed yet, what the freaking heck are you doing, man? Now, those buttons are actually free. If you click them, you get a bunch of swag. You can even get the swagger that's built into my chesticle, alright? You can get the swagger that's built into my sternum and all that fun stuff, Jazz. Yes! But yeah, I really like this chat. I enjoyed it so much. Greg was such a pleasure to talk to and just chat with for an hour long, or however long this edits to be. I don't freaking know. Probably like 3 years long. Oh, can you imagine a podcast that's 3 years long? How many hours is that? No, I don't care too much. Yeah, I really want to have Greg on again, talk a bunch of music and stuff like that. If you guys want to see that, I would love to. Make sure to put it down in the comments. And yeah, like the video if you liked it. And if you didn't like it, also like the video, because that's pretty funny to me. I don't know. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload from the Australian Icon himself. That is me. That's moi. If you haven't figured that out yet, what are you doing? But yeah, thank you guys again so much for watching. I appreciate that dearly, and hope you had a great time chatting. And if you want, let me know who else you want in the comments down below. Who else you want me to talk to on this series, on this Talking With series. Let me know down in the comments, whether it's a YouTuber, a reviewer, an icon like myself. Heck, maybe I could do a Nick Storm interview one day. That'd be pretty funny. I don't know. He's pretty hard to get a hold of because he is an Australian icon after all. So, yeah, without further ado, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye! Bye-bye!
Mixed on the Australian